Apps can do a lot of cool things. You could order dinner, gamble on your favorite team, and track your health. You could even get a mortgage. One click and you can be approved. I'm not sure by who or what country they're in. You deserve more from the mortgage industry. At AnyMac Home Mortgage, we believe in the need for live human interaction during a very complex process. The kind of service and guidance which an app simply can't provide. Our customers are more than credit scores and income documents. They're individuals and families who live in and strengthen our communities. Their story is our story, and that story begins in a home. Chris Sawyer is an expert on providing superior customer service and in meeting the mortgage needs of current and future homebuyers. With over 18 years of experience in the industry, Chris is able to help customers migrate through the home buying and home financing process by using his wealth of knowledge as a well-qualified mortgage professional. And best of all, Chris is located in Cromwell, Connecticut, where he has helped hundreds of clients in Connecticut, Massachusetts, and Rhode Island make their dreams of homeownership a reality. Visit chrissawyer.any-mac.com. Email him at csawyer@any-mac.com or give him a call, 860-878-8730.
Chris Sawyer, NMLS number 39345, corporate NMLS number 338923. AnyMac Home Mortgage is an equal housing lender. American Neighborhood Mortgage Acceptance Company, LLC. DBA AnyMac Home Mortgage. Lo-Fi Direct. Connecticut First Mortgage Correspondent. License lender. Broker number ML 338923. Massachusetts Mortgage Lender and Mortgage Broker License number MC 338923. Rhode Island License Lender. License number 2011280L. Call for additional details.
Welcome to Sports Talk with R&J. I'm Steve Risser, along here with Justin and Alfred. We got a busy show today. No surprise that the Cowboys are in the news at the start of training camps for most NFL teams. We got a Big Ten Media Day, but we got to start with baseball, and we got to start with the Yankees. And last night they got a big win. Looked like they were going to win it pretty easily early on with Jazz Chisholm, the three-run homer, but the Jays came back. They tied the game at 4, but Ben Rice in the ninth inning came up and hit a big home run to give the Yankees a lead. Devin Williams, again, gets a big save. And the Yankees right now, probably this is one of their biggest wins of the year because they lose that game. They're 5 games out. Now they're only 3 games out, and they get their ace on the mound tonight in Max Fried. So big win for the Yankees. They got to keep it going tomorrow night. But I think last night was a really good win for them.
Yeah, that was a big one. Just the losing streak against Toronto. Toronto's been playing so well for the last month and a half or so now. Yeah, you mentioned that they went up 4-1. They never make it easy. It felt like Toronto was going to come back and steal that game again. But, yeah, Chisholm, the big 3-1 home run. Ben Rice hits another big one. And I thought Schlittler, he didn't have his best stuff, but I thought he kind of did a good job of just kind of getting out of that outing, only giving up 2 runs, only had a handful of strikeouts. Because, the Blue Jays lineup is so tough, and Rhode Island kind of struggled the same thing on Monday night. They don't strike out a lot, and they make you, they make you throw a lot of pitches. So, I thought Schlittler kind of hung in there last night, and, he's been very encouraging of what we've seen. I know the Yankees might use him as a trade piece here in the next week, but, yeah, good win. They needed it just to, after just – again, now they're 11-17 this year against the division. Like that's last year they sunk against the division. I think 2023 or last year they're 500. Last year they were under 500 against the division. So they haven't played well against the division the last couple of years. So they needed this one, and hopefully they get tonight.
They absolutely did. They absolutely needed that win. Yeah, hopefully they do get tonight. They got their ace on the mound. Max Fried going up against Chris Bassett. So yeah, I think they have a good chance to win tonight. But you made a good point about the Blue Jay lineup. There really isn't a bad hitter in that lineup. Now, there's not a great hitter because Guerrero's not having a great year, but there's a lot of just good players in the lineup. I mean, Guerrero's still really good. Bichette, Springer's had a comeback season. Barger's been really good for them. So and Kirk too. So there are a lot of good hitters in that lineup. Toronto's lineup is a tough lineup. I mean, I didn't think it was going to be that way at the beginning of the season, but Toronto's lineup is definitely a tough lineup. But yeah, I thought the kid threw the ball pretty well yesterday. There are concerns still. I mean, Volpe, come on. That cost him a run last night. Volpe's throw that was terrible. And then Loizaga is continuing to struggle in the bullpen too. So they're definitely concerns. Even though it was a big win, there's definitely concerns.
Yeah, I'll start with Volpe. 13 errors now. He probably should have 20 if Goldschmidt doesn't.
Oh yeah.
Goldschmidt's bailed him out. I know.
Yeah.
Boone, See, I think why we're all up on kind of, and I get it. Like I feel bad for the kid, and I want to. I want him to do well for it. But I think why we're so angry at him as a fan base is like Boone's not making it any better. by
No,
continuing to defend him,
he's got to
we're
stop with
kind
the
of
excuses. He's got to stop.
yeah. That's the problem. They defend him to the end of the earth, and he's the only guy on the team too that doesn't get a mental break. Like I think that kid could really use a couple days to sit down and just clear the head, but for whatever reason they don't give it to him. Um, he's 3 in 47 this year off speed pitches. I think it's a 114 average.
Yeah.
Fastballs, he's not hit. He's like over 200, just barely over 200. I think he gets fastballs and the off, so like he's just and his defensive this year he was a 97th percentile last year in like range. This year he's like minus. This year he's like one of the worst. He's like -3 run differential, something like that. So like he usually you can count on his glove, but you can't right. Like he's got the yips. It's time to just sit him down for a couple of days and clear his head. And then with Weisecut, yeah, at this point with him, I'd rather just see him in mop-up duty. He's not pitched well all year. He's given up a ton of long balls. I'd rather just see him in mop-up duty. I used to trust him. You just can't right now.
Yeah, and I agree with you with the wise guy. Then I'm talking about Volpe. You're right about that. He needs a rest. Volpe definitely needs a rest. But the thing is, who's going to play shortstop? That's the thing. Who's going to play shortstop? So they'll have to
Vivat,
probably Vivats or probably Vivats. Yeah, we saw him on Friday night. That was a disaster. Even though it was a great throw by Acuna,
it was a great throw.
It was an absolute disaster there, seeing him run the bases on Friday night. But going back to Volpe, he needs a rest. He needs to clear his head. He absolutely does. He needs to clear his head. He needs a rest. He definitely does. I completely agree with you there. So and the excuses just have to stop. The excuses have to stop. He needs a rest. He needs to get back. He needs to get right. They need to rest him. I completely agree there.
Yeah, unfortunately, the excuses will never end with this franchise. Our GM 2 years ago before the season was still blaming the Astros cheating. About the World Series. Like they've always come up with their excuses, so they'll continue to do it with Volpe and with any other play that they have. That's why, like again, you go back to World Series last year and the Dodgers mocking you, and again they just read the scouting report and we still do nothing about it. That's just the frustrating part about it, and that's why I get so angry about it. And with Volpe, it's the defense right now, and because you using Orion as defense, and you could kind of deal with the bat, but when his defense is as bad right now as his offense, it's unplayable right now. But they're going to keep sticking him out there every day until again. Torn Boone, he's still bleeping elite, but
oh god, elite. Come on. I mean, he's an average shortstop at best. That's because his offense is okay. Because he had the 2 home runs on Saturday night, so that's just because his offense is okay. His defense this year has been absolutely terrible.
It's been bad. It's been bad. Yeah, because last year his bat wasn't great either, but he was still a 3 WAR. His WAR was still a 3 because of his defense. I'm actually looking up his WAR right now this year. I have to imagine it's a negative. I would think at this point. It's got to be this year. I can't find it at the moment, but it's just getting to the point where he's not been playing well. It's still 1.3. I'm surprised.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, okay.
Oh, wow.
I'm a little surprised at that. Especially the way things have been going lately.
Yeah.
But it's just again. You need another back because your left side of the infield right now is a mess with Volpe. And I know Peraza is usually solid. I know he had the bad throw there on Monday night, but the bat is just he doesn't even put up good at bats. Like you can deal with it if you can go 6-7 pitches deep, but like he's down 0-2, it feels like every single at bat. So the left side of the infield is a mess. And Volpe is just I want to see the kid do well. I'm starting. This has been 3 years and the bat hasn't come. So like I know he's still 24, but doesn't feel like it's ever going to come.
Yeah, it's got to be more consistent. He's got to stop that uppercut swing. It's got to start hitting for average. He's hitting like 216. So
launch angles.
Yep, exactly.
I love the launch angles.
Exactly. But you talk about the trade deadline. You talk about the Yankees left side of the infield. I'm starting to think now that might. I would say the priority number one is definitely a starting pitcher. You have to get a starting pitcher. I mean, you can't just have Rondon and Fried. You have to get another starting pitcher. I think that's a must. Then I think outside of the bullpen, I think addressing the left side of the infield might be more of a priority in the bullpen. It might end up being more of a priority in the bullpen because Devin Williams has pitched well. Luke Weaver has started to be better as well. So I think the left side of the infield might be a little bit more of a priority. Like, are you going to give a ton of prospects for Suarez? Who knows? But like a Ryan McMahon would be that would be good. So the thing about this team right now, they're 3 games, behind the Blue Jays, and they got holes. They got some holes, and they got to address them. Cashman has to address these holes at the trade deadline, because if they can address, get another starter, maybe get another infielder, maybe get another bullpen arm, this team does have a chance to win this division and even get back to the World Series.
Yeah, with how bad the American League is, I think there's a chance. I think last year was the best shot to win one for, in this like Judge Cole era.
Yeah, but if you look if you look at the American League, who's clearly better than them?
If Houston's healthy in October, I'd take Houston, and I'd probably take Detroit if they had another bat.
Yeah,
I know Houston's so banged up.
And Detroit and a bullpen arm for Detroit too.
Yeah, they could use another bullpen arm. I think Detroit's because this is the problem with the Yankees. Friday night they get shut down by Spencer Strider, but Saturday, Sunday they take advantage of the rest of the Braves pitching staff, which is horrible this year. That's the Yankees in the postseason. The minute they go up against a good pitching staff, they're useless. They'll beat up on all the mediocre guys, and for 162, they'll feast on them. But when it comes to October, a lot of those guys in the lineup struggle, and that's where I do worry. Because they just last year nobody could take advantage of them nobody else in the American League could take advantage of the Yankees' mistakes of beating themselves. The Dodgers did it this year. I think Houston and Detroit are good enough to do that, and I think Toronto will be a horrible matchup for them because of the way they, because of all the guys, because they have speed on the bases. They play really good defense. They'll kind of they'll take you 7-8 pitches. They'll kind of get deep in your pitch count. So I even think Toronto will be a bad matchup for them. So yeah, there's a chance. I don't want to see them trade a Jones or Lombard because I don't think this is a World Series team right now.
I don't want them trading Lombard. I definitely not want them trading Lombard. I mean, I saw him play, and we talked before the show. I saw him play in Hartford on Sunday, and I saw him hit the home run. I do not want them trading Lombard.
Yeah, I don't either. I don't even want them to trade Spencer Jones. I know he's striking out a ton, but the power's there right now. So if you kind of figure out the rest of it, and I think he's going to be a good defender too. So yeah, I don't want to trade him either. And Suarez is going to cost a lot because now I don't know if you saw Joe Espada, the Astros manager, yesterday. Isaac Paredes, who I think they were hoping to get back in a week or two, it doesn't sound like he's coming back anytime soon. So I think Houston's going to be in the market for a third baseman. You got Milwaukee, Chicago, the Cubs are. You got the Mariners too. So there's gonna be a lot of suitors for Eugenio Suarez. So for a 2-month rental, I don't know. It's probably costly because there'll be a lot of teams are interested in his services right now.
Yeah, I bet they are. I bet they are. Seeing that he leads all of baseball in RBI, so I definitely bet they are. But we'll move on to this weekend for the Yankees, and the Phillies head up to the Bronx this weekend to face the Yankees. And you look at some of the matchups. You got Saturday, you got Will Warren against Friday night. You got Will Warren against Tyrone Walker. Saturday afternoon, you got Stroman against Ranger Suarez, and then Sunday Wheeler against Schlittler. So they're gonna have to see Suarez and Wheeler back to back. This is gonna be a hard series for the Yankees. I think the Phillies take 2 out of 3. I don't think the Phillies' offense is as good as we thought it was going to be this year, but they're still a really good team. Got great pitching. I mean, they got 3 really good starters with Suarez, Wheeler, and Christopher Sanchez. What did you say?
Yeah, I was just say Sanchez.
Yeah, Christopher Sanchez, who arguably should have been an All-Star, but yeah, and who pitched last night against the Red Sox. But yeah, I think they're going to. The Yankees are going to realize in this series because they're facing one of the top teams in the National League and one of the top teams in baseball. I think this is a series where the Yankees are going to lose 2 out of 3, and they're going to realize that they're going to have to do stuff at the deadline if they want to win, if they want to compete for a championship this year. I think this is the series that is going to make Cashman realize it because I think the Phillies take 2 out of 3 this weekend.
Yeah, I'm there with you. I think Phillies take 2 out of 3. Yeah, Will's been good. Christopher Sanchez, yeah, you mentioned it. Nobody's really talking about. He's surprised somebody that could still win that National League Cy Young. He looked really good the other night. Wheeler pitched Monday against the Red Sox, and Red Sox actually did a little. Thought the Red Sox had some solid bats against them, but yeah, I think the Phillies. Yeah, their offense maybe it's not great, but last year, remember Warren's debut against the Phillies, and they rocked them. I think he gave up like 6 runs to them in like 3 innings or something. So the Phillies have, batted against Warren before. I think the Phillies take 2 out of 3. I think their offense is going. I just think again, what I just talked about against like Strider, they seem to struggle always against the top line of the rotation guys, and I think that could be a case again this weekend.
It very easily can be. It very easily can be. So we'll see what the Yankees do this weekend against the Phillies. But speaking of the Phillies, they have beaten the Red Sox in the first two games of their series at Citizens Bank Park. And the crazy part of the Red Sox is in 2 innings in a row, they've been called for catcher's interference. 2 innings in a row. Crazy way to end the game on Monday night with the catcher's interference. That's a crazy way to end the game. And for the Red Sox, we talked about this stretch. This stretch coming out of the All-Star break with the Cubs, the Phillies, and the Dodgers. It has not looked good so far. They've lost 4 out of 5. And in the 4 losses, they've scored a combined, I think it's 5 runs. 4 runs. 4 runs in the 4 losses, 10 combined runs in 5 games. And we were saying, last week, the Devers thing might be an addition. It might be addition by subtraction. You're starting to feel now that they might be able to use Rafael Devers in some of these games, seeing that they've lost 4 to 5 to the Phillies and Cubs coming out of the break.
Yeah, it's been tough. Yeah, we mentioned it. We even mentioned the last couple of weeks about the stretch coming up here, and they've struggled here out of the break. We kind of figured they were going to come back down to earth a little bit, but that All-Star break came at the worst time for them because they've been playing so well, and they also have not played well they're 7 under this year on the road, and they played a lot better at home, which hasn't been the case the last couple of years. But it's been tough. Sanchez last night just dominated against them, and Fitz kind of settled in after the second inning, but it was already too late. And I thought Monday against Wheeler, they had some pretty good at bats, and Bueller's looked a lot. The thing you can kind of, like the Red Sox pitching staff's been pretty good of late, and I think that's where you can kind of hang your hat on of like, all right, and this lineup can kind of get out of a mini funk and some good pitching staffs that you've been facing here the first kind of week out of the All-Star break here. But yeah, it's they're now 0-7-2 this year in extra inning games where they are the visiting team. So they're like the Yankees; they just don't move guys over. And when you don't do that in extra innings, you're costing yourself. And yeah, you mentioned the catcher; that was wild. And Navarez had a tough one Monday because he also had like 3 other pass balls. I think one of them ended up, Philly ended up scoring after advancing the base. So it's been a little tough here for the Red Sox out of it, and it's a very young lineup, and they're going up against some really good arms right now. So they're kind of going through it, but the Dodgers are going through it too right now. They can't, so maybe you can knock off the Dodgers this weekend, where maybe a couple weeks ago we weren't really thinking that could be the case.
Yeah, and we'll get to the Dodgers series a little bit later, but you talked about the young lineup facing these good arms of Imanaga, Wheeler. Last night with Christopher Sanchez, facing these young arms, and they were red hot. I mean, coming out of the All-Star break, they were red hot. But look, outside of the Rays, and the Rockies, first team in baseball. So as we circled this the key stretch of the Red Sox, and so far it hasn't worked for them. It hasn't worked for them. The lineup has struggled. You did bring up a good point about the rotation, because the rotation hasn't been that bad. Yeah, Buehler pitched pretty well on Monday night. Crochet continues to be great. Bella wasn't good in his start against the Cubs, but still, the rotation has still been good. But here's the thing about the Red Sox. There's question marks everywhere, probably even more than the Yankees, because I think, but maybe as many as the Yankees, but no, I'd say more, because I think they need more depth. They need depth in their rotation. They need more depth in the bullpen. They need more depth in the lineup. So the Red Sox pretty much they're gonna have to be busy at the trade deadline too. So they're definitely going to be busy. This has got to be their best trade deadline they've had in a while if they want to compete this year, because they're a good team, but right now they do not look like a World Series contender at all.
No, they don't. And yeah, it's been a tough stretch, but hey, you're still got one of the wild card spots right now, and the Rays aren't playing good baseball. The Rangers can't really get out of their own way. Cleveland's been very mediocre this year. The Twins are playing better, but I don't know if I could buy it. So like that wild card spot's totally open, even if you continue to kind of struggle here. I know they have the Astros twice in like August within like 10 days or something like that. So, so like I fully expect them to be a buyer here, and yeah, they got to be busy. I know I don't now that the Twins are starting to play better. I don't know if Joe Ryan's. I think he's got 2 years of control left. I heard his name was rumored to the Sox. That wouldn't be a bad one. I liked your Josh Nail one last week from Arizona. They could really use a first baseman. That guy would fit so well, I think, at Fenway Park. So, yeah, they need some more depth. They need like another veteran guy in that lineup. I feel like they could, you can never have enough bullpen arms. Even though Chapman's been really good as the anchor in the bullpen this year, but yeah, they definitely need some work, and Brazil should be busy these next 8 days or so, and and they're pretty important ones too. And because I think two against the division this year, they've been pretty well. I think they're like 20-13 this year against American League East. So, with how tight that they're still six back, but they're only back three of the Yankees. And if they were to, the Red Sox would probably win that tiebreaker. So, I expect them to be pretty aggressive here because yeah, um, but with all the young talent they have, I still think the future looks pretty good in Boston right now.
It does look good. The future does look good with the young talent. It definitely does. But the young talent is not proven yet, and they traded probably one of their most proven players. And you're seeing in these, right out of the All-Star break, how not having Devers can affect your lineup, and it really has affected their lineup. And I'm not saying this thing is going to get completely off the rails, but if this thing gets worse and worse and worse, there's going to be criticism. And because if you're looking at it, say you win 10 in a row and you had Devers, you know, you could have extended this. You could have continued to extend your winning streak and continue to play well. They're not playing well right now, and this is just, as I said, this is a brutal stretch for them. And it doesn't get that much easier either, because after the Dodgers, they go to the Twins. As you said, they got a couple series with the Astros. They go to the Padres. So it's going to continue to be. We saw last year this team kind of tailed off. Late July, early August. If they don't do anything at the trade deadline, it could happen again this year.
It could. I think what's going to help bail them out is the American League is not great. And because the Rays are about to go on, they've been on the road a lot. They're not playing great baseball right now. I know the Rangers are probably going to be aggressive at trade deadline, but their offense just hasn't been as consistent as we thought going in this year. The Mariners too. We'll see. I know their pitching staff's really really good. So I think they still might very well get into the postseason just because of and they just take advantage of the mediocre American League this year. And I think that could really help them out right now. Because I don't know how many of those teams are going to take advantage of Boston if Boston were to kind of struggle. I know they go to Minnesota for 3 coming up at the end of or next week. Look, maybe you get swept to Minnesota. Yeah, maybe and Minnesota kind of comes back and they're right there with you now. And so I still think this team probably finds a way to get in there just with how bad with how mediocre the American League is right now.
Yeah, I mean, listen, but they're only a half game. Tampa's only a half game behind. I know they haven't played that well, but they're only a half game behind. So I wouldn't be surprised if Tampa gets if they don't do anything at the trade deadline, they could even struggle if Tampa and Seattle just see if Tampa or Seattle just passes them out. So or Seattle has one of the other spots, right?
Seattle, yeah, they're sick. Yeah,
but I wouldn't be surprised.
I
wouldn't be surprised if Tampa passes them out. I wouldn't be. So it's important now for the Red Sox to kind of tread water. Maybe win the game in Philly tonight. At least get one at home against the Dodgers. So I think right now it's important for them to kind of tread water and by next week be in front in that wild card race. So which would motivate that front office to make big deals. Like for example, get a Josh Naylor, maybe get a Merrill Kelly. Or get a bullpen arm. The key is to be to have that wild card spot, so the front office can make some moves next week.
Yeah, absolutely. It's going to be huge weekend in Boston and for that team, and yeah, to kind of what direction or kind of show what Breslow needs to kind of do here, and yeah, with the Dodgers and with the way they're struggling right now, and they just don't have the pitching, take advantage of that with your lineup. They got the guys that could do that. So yeah, I know the Rays, yeah, the Rays always do something small at the trade deadline, but it always seems to like turn out to be like a great move for them. Like it seems like the smallest of moves, but it always turns out well for them. I know Chris Young, the Rangers president baseball ops, like he's always aggressive. So like I expect him to probably do something big at trade deadline. So like I think Tampa, Texas, and we'll see what Cleveland and Minnesota do. But I still think that Brazil's going to be aggressive, and I think they do make a couple of moves that kind of get them into the playoff picture or continue to keep them in the playoff picture and end up getting one of those wild card spots at the end of the year.
Yeah, now speaking of the Dodgers head to Fenway Park. Mookie Betts, for the second time in his career, heads to Fenway to face his former team. We got Friday night, you got Bello against Sheehan. Saturday, Crochet against Kershaw. And Sunday, Buehler against Ohtani. And you're right, the Dodger pitching has been, I mean, I know they have a lot of injuries, you know. Glasnow, I think I don't know if he came back or he's still hurt, but Snell is still out. So they've had a lot of injuries to that rotation. The Dodgers, and it's shown because the Dodgers have not been as dominant as we thought. They don't even have the best record in the National League right now. That goes to the Cubs and Brewers. So the Dodgers, this is a win. This is actually looking at these pitching matchups. This is a winnable series because I think in two of these three games, they got the pitching advantage. And yeah, Ohtani's starting Sunday, but Ohtani hasn't gone more than 3 innings. So I think they got the pitching advantage this weekend. But I think the Dodgers lineup is really, really good, and I think they're the better team. And I think I do think they go into Boston and take 2 out of 3. I do think the Dodgers go into Boston and take 2 out of 3. This whole week is starting to make me rethink what I said last week about the Devers trade being addition by subtraction. I'm now back to questioning the Devers trade. I was watching this team coming out of the break, so I think the Dodgers take 2 out of 3 here.
I'd say I got Boston with 2 out of 3.
Wow. Because the Dodgers have not played well. They've lost, I think.
Yeah.
Was it
11 and 14.
11 out of 14. 11 out of 14, yeah.
Yeah, you know, Glasnow just came back. I think they're hoping Snell comes back maybe by next week at some point. But I think maybe next Wednesday. I think they're hoping to slot him back in there. But you know, I think Boston could kind of get Friday night against the Connecticut native Sheeran. And then Saturday, yeah, maybe Saturday. You know, Saturday you should get Crochet versus Kershaw. You know that I know Kershaw hasn't. You know, Kershaw's been a little bit better, but he can't really strike guys out anymore. And Sunday, with the way Buehler's been pitching, the Bolt guy's been Kasparius. I think Boston could knock him around. I think that's usually been the guy that comes in after Ohtani. So, if the way Buehler's been pitching, first time going against his former team, I think Boston finds a way to either win Friday or Sunday, and I think they definitely win Saturday night. So, I think Boston ends up winning 2 of 3 here, and you know, I get it. The thing with the Devers trade is Devers only has 1 home run since going to San Fran. Like he's not, you know, he hasn't been great either over there. So, you know, I know maybe at some point he'll turn around. And I know he played first last night. He looked pretty good over there, but he hasn't even taken off yet with San Francisco.
Oh wow, yeah. I mean that's a good point there, but still, I think I don't know. This is a long time to adjust because it's been almost a month and a half since the trade.
Yeah.
But still, I think this lineup would definitely be better if Rafael Devers was in it. But I'm surprised you think that the Red Sox can take 2 out of 3 from the Dodgers. But it's a good point. The Dodgers just haven't played well. They have their own question marks in the rotation. Their lineup's great, but they have their own question marks in the rotation and the bullpen. The Dodgers are definitely, as you said, are not a team. They're not as good as we thought they were going to be. I mean, they're still really good, and I wouldn't be surprised if they win the World Series again, but they're definitely not as good as we thought they were going to be because of their issues in the bullpen and the issues in their rotation. Like they lost last night 10-7 to the Twins.
You know, you just lost, I think, was 6 of the Brewers. You know, you took 2 or 3 from the Giants team that's not playing great baseball either right now. But, you know, just all the concerns. And I think, Friday's matchup, I think, kind of favors the Sox. Definitely Saturday night. And Sunday, you know, if Ohtani was going 6-7 innings, I give it to Ohtani, but you're only going to get 2-3 innings out of Ohtani at the most. So the way Beal's been pitching, maybe, you know, like I think Boston could find a way to win 2 out of 3 with the way their lineups. You know, I know the lineups are swinging it poorly lately, or in the last couple games, but we've seen that lineup when they're able to get it going. You know. They cannot get it. You know, they can be pretty deadly when they're on, and maybe this weekend back home, they could do against the Dodgers team right now. It's reeling that really needs a lot of pitching help, and they'll find it in the next week or so. So I'm not overly concerned with Dodgers, but there is a ton of injuries, and I think it's getting to the point where um maybe a couple of these guys are burnt out because I know their bullpen's throwing like the most innings in the big league so far, but
Oh
that's
wow.
because you've had like 10 or 11 guys that starting pitching wise on the IL.
Yeah, exactly. So we'll see what happens this week between the Red Sox and Dodgers. But Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are it's the start of training camp, and Jerry Jones and the Cowboys are in the news. No, shocking there. But before we talk about that, we are going to hear from our friends at JPEG Financial and Shamrock Home Inspections.
Do you have a 401k and some savings for future retirement, but don't even know if it's enough to live off of? How much is enough? How often are you thinking about it? The team at JPEG's Financial Group can help set your mind at ease. We specialize in creating strategies in the planning and managing of your financial, educational, and investment needs. We help clients pursue their investment goals with sound financial strategies. You deserve a personal, tailored plan. Lasting, meaningful, and open relationships are the foundation of our practice. You've worked hard for your money and should feel confident in your investment choices as you make decisions for your financial future. Your goals are our goals. We are dedicated to your needs and hopes for your future. Visit our website and give us a call at 860-430-5397. Securities offered through Raymond James Financial Services, Inc., member FINRA, SIPC. Investment advisory services offered through Raymond James Financial Services Advisors, Inc. JPEX Financial Group, LLC is not a registered broker-dealer and is independent of Raymond James Financial Services. JPEX Financial Group is located at 78 Eastern Boulevard, Glastonbury, Connecticut. There's no bigger investment than home ownership. And to make sure the house is up to your standards, you need a professional to look it over. Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections is a licensed home inspector and a member of the Connecticut Association of Home Inspectors. Brian was a contractor for over 15 years, so he knows how homes should be constructed and how mechanicals should work.
What makes me a good home inspector was the 20 years that I was a home improvement person, doing all the different repairs that I have done and what other people have done wrong that I had to go out and fix. So I have a pretty quick eye on seeing what's right and what's wrong. Before you move, call Shamrock Home Inspections.
Before you make the biggest investment of your life, call Brian Flanagan from Shamrock Home Inspections at 860-268-2566 or visit shamrockhomeinspectionct.com.
And what a surprise! The Dallas Cowboys are in the news. We're at the start of training camps in the NFL, and the Dallas Cowboys are in the news. Again, they're not in the news for the right reasons. They're in the news for the wrong reasons because they have a star pass rusher which is beyond me that he hasn't got paid yet. It's ridiculous. He's a top 5 edge rusher in the league. He's in his 4th year. He should have been paid, 5 months ago. But it's shocking that he hasn't gotten paid yet. But this week Jerry Jones, he spoke about Micah Parsons and said, and you heard his comments. He didn't even know how many games he missed last year. He missed 4 games. He didn't miss 6. He missed 4 games. He doesn't even know how many games the guy missed. Saying, if we even sign to a big deal, it's not a guarantee we're going to have him. Come on now. And then, of course, he takes a shot at Dak, a guy he paid last year because he missed 2/3 of the year due to injury. So it's crazy. And Micah Parsons yesterday said, he's starting to get frustrated. You heard him yesterday getting frustrated, saying if it happens, it happens. If it doesn't, it doesn't. But here's the difference between Parsons and the next 2 guys we're going to talk about. With Henderson and McLaurin. He's there. He's in training camp. I don't understand why this deal isn't being done today. You should be giving him $42 million per year today. He's in camp. I mean, if this and we'll get to the Cowboys waiting to pay guys, but this is getting ridiculous. To me, it's crazy. It's crazy that Micah Parsons hasn't been paid yet.
Yeah, they always feel like Jerry waits till the last possible second to pay these guys. And what I read too, it sounds like Parsons is saying like the Cowboys aren't even responding to his agents' like phone calls.
How are you not responding to your best? He's the best player on your team. How are you not responding to his phone calls?
I don't know. That was coming from Parsons. There's 2 sides to every story, so maybe he's lying about that. But like I don't know. But even like that's just I would have hoped that I don't know what's going on there. With Jerry, like it's same old Jerry Jones, but yeah, you want this guy he's been unbelievable for you. He's been a huge part of that defense, which doesn't have a ton of talent like
It
outside of him.
it doesn't. I mean, they got some talent in the secondary with Duron Bland and Trayvon Diggs. They got some talent there, but no, they don't. Look at the middle of the defense. I know Diggy's do it is okay, but he's not good against the run. Their middle linebackers are with Overshow now. Their middle linebackers are terrible. The middle of that defense is bad. Middle of the defense, you saw teams gash the middle of that defense last year. You saw teams do that. So you got to get this guy signed. And the issue is, and you talked about waiting. If they sign this guy, if they sign him before May 1st, they would have saved themselves $7 million. They would have probably got him at like $35 million a year. But then the Myles Garrett contract happens. He gets paid $40 million a year. In between that, I think Danielle Hunter, and Max Crosby got paid. They got $35 million a year. And then you saw last week, T.J. Watt getting $41 million a year. If they would have done this on March 1st, they would have had him at like 35. Now they're going to have to pay him. No, they're going to get it done. They always do. They got it done with they got it done with Zeke. They got it done with last year. You saw with CD and Dak. They're going to get it done, but it's going to cost them. It's $42 million a year to get it done.
Yeah, it is. It's going to cost them a lot. It's going to cost them an arm and a leg. Gary's got the funds.
Of course, he's got the funds. Yeah, but it's going to hurt their salary cap.
It is because you're essentially playing three guys right now: Dak, CD, and Parsons, which. Three good players, but that's not how you win a Super Bowl.
No.
That's again, they have the longest tenure now. Not making the NFC Championship game
by far, by miles. I think the Bears have the second longest tenure. The Cowboys have been 1995. The Bears it was like 2010, and the Giants have the third. They have the third in 2011.
Yeah, wow. Unfortunately, hopefully you guys turn around soon. We'll see, but I just same old Jerry Jones, and that's just been the issue. And you got to get it done. Yeah, they'll probably end up getting it done, but it's gonna, you could have used another $7-8 million somewhere else where maybe you could have, used that money elsewhere. But yeah, now you have to give it to Parsons. You waited till the last possible second, and that's just what happened to do it. Another couple of deals come together, and the market goes up. So. It's going to continue to happen, and we'll see how long it takes. But at least he's there. But if they're not even if Jerry's not even returning the agent's calls, I don't know. How this gets done anytime soon. I don't know.
Which is ridiculous, and this gets to a bigger issue with the Cowboys, and it's them waiting to pay guys. You saw this with Ezekiel Elliott. You saw, as I said earlier, we saw this with Dak and CD. And how bad are the Cowboys? And the big question is, how bad are the Cowboys hurting themselves waiting to pay guys? And I think they're hurting themselves really badly. Because if you go back to last year, say they pay CeeDee Lamb and Dak Prescott in March, maybe they have the money, maybe they have the cap space to spread the money around, and maybe they have the cap space to sign Derrick Henry, a piece they desperately needed going into last season. Maybe they have the cap space to make that move if they got the CD deal and the Dak deal done earlier, but they didn't, and Derrick Henry went to the Ravens and had an amazing season. So I think really hurting them. If they get Micah Parsons done earlier, maybe they have the money to bring Tank Lawrence and bring Jordan Lewis back. Maybe they have the money to do those things. So the strategy the Cowboys are using, I think it's really hurting their teams. And when you got to compete against the best roster and best GM in football and Howie Roseman and the Philadelphia Eagles, and you got to now compete with the Washington Commanders, who have a franchise quarterback in Jay Daniels, and we'll get to them with the McLaurin stuff, but their franchise turned the corner last year. It's going to be very, very hard to compete in that division doing what you're doing right now.
Yeah, it is. It's a tough division. The NFC too. A lot of kind of good solid teams, and there's some talent there. And with the way the game is now, these unbelievable quarterbacks, a high powered offenses, that to have a guy like, not every team could have Micah Parsons anchor in their defense. And waiting this long, it definitely has hurt them. Because you could have done a little bit more with the cap and kept a couple other guys and help build better build your team around those type of guys. So it's whatever, why Jerry kind of does what he does with this, I don't know, but it's not a great strategy. And now your division now with, and I know you mentioned before, with the Commanders and Giants in your division, you can kind of guarantee every year the Cowboys were at least going to come in second, but that's not the case anymore with Washington with the corner they turned last year. So it's not great, and and this is kind of it. I know last year there wasn't a ton of expectations for it, but like for the first time in a while, like handful of years, there's really not. Everybody's trying to make a case for the Cowboys to make the Super Bowl. There's not much of that at all this
Oh
offseason
God, no.
either.
Oh no way, no way. I mean, people would be surprised if they're seeing the division they play in and the schedule they have. They'd be surprised if they get to the playoffs and even win and win a game. They'd be probably shocked if they did that, because if you look at this roster, it's a middling roster. It's a middling roster in the league. There's a lot of question marks. There's question marks right on the offensive line. Now, there's guys that Tyler Guyton could be really good. We'll see what Tyler Booker is. A lot of Tylers on that offensive line, but you'll see if those guys, if Tyler Guyton can take the next step, if Tyler Booker could be good, if Cooper Beebe can take the next step, we'll see what happens on the O line. Run game is a big question mark, with Miles Sanders and Javonte Williams. The run game's a question mark. The middle of even Dak coming off the injury is a little bit of a question mark, I think. No, receivers are good with Pickens and Lamb. And if you look at the middle of that defense, I mean, Adigizua is very average. He got paid, but he's very average. The linebacking core without Overshown is going to struggle. So the middle of that defense is going to struggle. So this is, if you look at the three rosters in the league, in the division, Eagles definitely have the best roster. I'd say right now, the Commanders roster is probably better than the Cowboys roster at this point. Their roster is probably better. So the Cowboys have the third best roster in the division. Now, their roster is better than the Giants. I'll give them that. But right now, they're going into the season with the third best roster in the division. And not to mention, they have a head coach that's a major question mark, too.
Yeah, I was about to mention that. I'm like, the guy's been fired 3 times, the D coordinator. I don't think I've ever seen that.
As an offensive
coordinator. As an offensive, my bad. Yeah. As an offensive coordinator. And now he's a head coach like that. That's a huge question mark. And in Dallas, too, where it's always kind of the head coach has been a puppet. Like, that's a huge question mark. We have no idea. If this team kind of, does they lose the locker room already? If this team goes 0-5 to start, which I don't think it's going to happen, but like, the Bears can get, they probably beat the Giants week 2 at home. They should,
Oh, Bears.
I don't know about tough. Chicago.
Bears going to be tough game. Bears going to be tough game. You're not mentioning the Eagle game. You already got that chalked up
you already
as an L. On opening night, you got that chalked up as an L. Then the Packers too. They got the Packers.
They're not beating them.
There's a good chance.
You probably beat the Jets and the Panthers, but
there's a good chance they start 1-3 though. It's a very good chance they start 1-3.
Yeah, and that fan base is going to lose it. He loses the locker room, and then if they were to lose to the Jets or the Panthers, the Panthers are going to be better. I know they're not going to be great, but they'll be better. I don't think it's out of the realm of question. So if they're 2-4 coming off loss like Carolina with Washington coming in, there's a lot of how does Sean Maher handle that? I don't know, and I don't love it. So there's a lot of question marks with the Dallas team that I don't love the roster, and the coaching staff's a huge mystery. And when you got Jerry running the show, they'll probably sell that place out like they do. The Cowboy fans they'll have their road contingencies at all their road games, but there's not I agree with you. It's a very average roster right now.
It's very average. Yeah, it's very average, and as you said, there's just a lot of question marks with the head coach, with the roster, just a lot of question marks going into the season for the Cowboys, and they didn't help themselves in the Micah Parsons negotiations. They just haven't helped themselves, and the way they negotiate contracts is just, they draft well. I'll give them that, but the way they negotiate contracts is absolutely terrible. It's terrible, and that's why if this thing is 6-11, 5-12 this year, they have got to get they got to do something. They probably have to fire Schottenheimer and get a new general and get a general manager here. I know Jerry doesn't want to. It's the last thing Jerry wants to do, but I think if they get embarrassed really badly this year, they got to make that change.
Yeah, I agree with you. I just don't think it's ever going to happen. Or if he does give up the power, it's going to his son. I just think it's going to the Jones.
Or it goes to Will McClay, who's kind of like the personnel guy there.
Okay.
Which they probably should do eventually, because
this
is the way they negotiate contracts is a nightmare.
It is, but again, problem with a lot of these owners is their egos, and
Yep,
they don't
you're
want
right
to
about that.
relinquish that. And that's why I don't think Jerry will until Jerry physically or he's not on this earth anymore to that's when he'll have to. So like I just don't think Jerry will ever give up that power. Or if he does, I think it's gonna go to his kid. So like I just part of me feels bad for Cowboys fans because I just think you're gonna be in the circle for a long time because I think it's like December to the Yankees. I don't think they're ever gonna sell the team. I don't think the Joneses will ever sell it.
Yeah, I can see that. Yeah, I think it's going to go to his son. I definitely, I definitely see it. I definitely could see it going to his son. It's going to go to his son. It's definitely going to go to his son. It's definitely going to go to his son. So yeah, it's always going to be the Jones family. So it's going to be pretty much the same story with the Dallas Cowboys. It's just going to be the same story. They're going to the season. They're probably expected to win at best 8 or 9 games. 8 or 9 wins at best in a tough division, and probably finish in third place in that division. That's pretty much the expectation for the Cowboys right now. But they put themselves in this situation. They put themselves in this situation. So be interesting to see what happens with Dallas. We'll probably be talking about this Micah Parsons situation all right up until the season starts. So we'll see what happens there. We got to get to another edge rusher, and that is Trey Hendrickson, and he's holding out for the Bengals right now. And Joe Burrow has just spoken. I'll read what he said before we get into this. And Joe Burrow spoke after their first training camp practice, and said, obviously this is Hendrickson and Shamar Stewart being out. He said, obviously it's disappointing. You'd like to have all your guys out there day one to try to build the cohesion that I was talking about earlier, but that's not how it usually works out. It's a business, and that's how it's gone. When asked about whether both sides should have more urgency, Burrow expressed the desire to have things wrapped up by now. And he said, the earlier you get these things done, the better. So the Bengals kind of in the same situation as Dallas right now. They got a star edge rusher I've heard they've had a deal in place. I heard they had a deal in place, but it's all about the guaranteed money. He wants 2 years guaranteed. The Bengals won't give it to him. If you're the Bengals, seeing how horrible your defense is right now, you need to have this guy in the field. He led the league in sacks last year. Again, just get this thing done. Just get this thing done and get the distraction out of the way. Just get it done.
That would be the smart move. It sounds like too he's willing to take less money too, to stay in Cincinnati, to help the team out and right, because Brown is 90 years old now too, and he's still running things like that.
Well, funny, they're kind of the Cowboys and Bengals are a little bit the way the way they make money, but I've said this, the way they run their football operation is kind of the same, because to me they're the only 2 teams in the league that have the owner as the general manager.
Yeah, and that's an issue. And I know the Shamar Stewart one, that one too. I guess like the Bengals have given guarantee contracts to all their first round picks, and like now they don't want to do with Stewart, and Stewart's gonna hold out until they hand. Yeah. Like there was 2 weeks ago, there was talk of like A&M was gonna maybe try to get him back into school this year.
Wow,
it doesn't sound like that's gonna happen now. But yeah, like in that Stewart too. The end, edge guy, Henderson as well as your edge guy. So you can be down 2 guys right there. So yeah, he seems like Henderson seems like a team first guy. And yeah, with how abysmal your defense is, you got to keep this guy around. You got to have him out there, especially as soon as possible. Because look, I get their schedule the first 2 weeks, Cleveland to Jacksonville, but this is the same team that did lose week 1 at home this year to New England.
Yeah, Gerard Mayo led Patriot team.
Yeah. And that costs the Patriots first overall pick. But so there's no gimme. I know it looks like 2 gimmies, but it's really not. And can you really rely on Joe Burrow to play Superman again? Because he was unbelievable last year. And that is just, it's a ton to ask your quarterback to play as well as he did last year. Yeah, he's capable of doing it, but like, that's not a recipe for success.
It's not. And it's going to be tough to see the Bengals as a playoff team. They can't get Hendrickson because Joe Burrow had to play Superman last year, and Hendrickson had to be really good on the defensive line for that team to be in the playoff, to be in the playoff race, in a playoff conversation. So it's hard for me, especially if they don't get the Stewart and Hendrickson thing done. It's hard for me to see this team being a playoff team. I can see them missing the playoffs for the 3rd year in a row. And let me tell you something, it's definitely not the quarterback's fault. That's for sure.
No, it's not. A lot of it's on that coach. A lot of it's on the owner.
Yeah.
I've never been a Zach Taylor fan. It sounds like, too, they're going to play Joe Burrow Zach Taylor's saying, they're going to play him the most he's ever played in the preseason. I don't think that was your problem last year.
Are you kidding me?
That's what Zach Taylor. That's what I read.
Oh, wow.
I don't think that was the issue. I think the issue is your team's not ready to play week 1 or the first month.
Exactly,
of the season,
because you're an average head coach, and you saw it in. Remember that clipping quarterback when, Zach they beat the Titans last year, but they didn't play well, and Joe Burrow was not happy at all. He was PO. He was not happy at all, and Zach Taylor was like, "Oh, it's all right. We won the game." And Joe Burrow, because Joe Burrow knows what championship football looks like. He knows what it looks like, and Zach Taylor, I know he was the coach of the team when they went to the Super Bowl, but if you look at his record without Joe Burrow, it's not good at all. So you saw that, and that should just show you that Zach Taylor is a very average coach in this league, and that Joe Burrow is the biggest reason why this franchise has turned the corner, not Zach Taylor.
Yeah, that is a stunning quote from a head coach. Quote from a head coach of like, yeah, it's okay. Yeah, like that. You want.
You think if the Patriots play poorly in the Belichick years, he would ever say that?
Oh, God, no. I don't think so. I can only imagine Dan Hurley as a Bengal fan listening to that with the way he presses his players.
Oh, my God.
I'd love to see a live stream of him watching a Bengals game.
Oh, my God.
But, yeah, that is just – you ask for that's supposed to drive your players as a coach, but
yeah,
I would have fired him right there on the spot if I was an owner. But that is so yeah, that's Zach Taylor's a big reason why they get off to as bad starts as they do. So yeah, it's unfortunate because that Bengals franchise, they've been a playoff team for they had all the playoff teams there with Marvin Lewis, and they just could never get over a hump. And Burrow finally got him the Super Bowl, but yeah, it seems like Zach Taylor as the head coach there is kind of like he's holding he's somewhat holding the team back for the starts that they have. And again, I know he's not totally to blame for the defense because there's not a lot of talent there, but it is bad. And I do really like Al Golden. I just think it's a lot for him to really fix his defense with the talent that he has right now. Like, I think that's a project that's going to take a couple of years, but I do really like the Al Golden hire.
Yeah, we'll see what ends up happening there with Al Golden. But to help him, he needs Trey Hendricks. And they need to get this done. The Bengals got to get this done. It's a year of guaranteed money. Get it done as soon as possible so you can get ready for the season. So you got to get this deal done for the Bengals. I mean, I think it's ridiculous they haven't gotten this deal done yet. But we'll talk about another guy holding out of camp, and that's Terry McLaurin. And I'm actually pretty optimistic with this. I think eventually this is I trust Adam Peters. I think they're going to get this done. I know McLaurin is unhappy. But seeing that, again, we said this last week, seeing that he was there pre-Jane Daniels, he was producing pre-Jane Daniels, this is something that Adam Peters has got to get done, and I'm confident he is going to get this done. I think this is going to get done within the next week. I think by the time we're on the air in 2 weeks, this will be done.
Yeah, I think Washington's going to figure it out. I think it'd be pretty reasonable if they give him a contract close to DK Metcalf, like the 4 years, 120 he got, something like that. Like, I think that's pretty reasonable for Terry McLaurin. And yeah, if they can give him that, I think everything will be okay. And yeah, for this kind of ownership group, I think this is a big one too, because I get it's a totally new ownership group and all that. But like for so long, the ownership or the fans could not stand the owners. Now they're finally on kind of their side. You don't want them to turn already if you're kind of stuck in the mud here, not wanting to pay Terry McLaurin. So yeah, I think they're gonna get this done. And again, they're not going to sneak up on anybody this year. Like, Washington's not. So you'd love to have Jaden Daniels to have Terry McLaurin to rely on, be out there throwing the football to this year. Because, I don't think he's going to, maybe, again, his numbers are going to be pretty hard to put up the same numbers he did last year. But, he's still going to have a pretty good year, I feel like. But to have McLaurin out there would totally be very helpful.
It will be. It definitely will be. It definitely will be. So we're going to talk about a couple things to wrap up quickly. First, we'll talk about, the Clippers this week signing CP3. He's coming back. If this was 2015, Clippers would be in great shape. You got CP3, you got Bradley Beal, you got Kawhi Leonard. So I mean, if this was 2015, they'd be in great shape. But at this point, they're not. And the question is, where are the Clippers in the Western and James Harden too? So I got to talk about it to mention him. But where are the Clippers in the Western Conference right now? And I think you could argue. I mean, they're not better than the Thunder. We know they're not better than them, but they're not better. To me, they're not better than the Nuggets. They still are not. They're definitely not better than the Nuggets. I don't think they're better than the. They might have. To me, they're not better than the T-Wolves. They're not better than the Lakers. I don't think they're better than the Rockets. You could argue the Clippers are the 6th or 7th best team. Some of the moves they've made, yeah, they've made some moves to add to the depth and maybe one starter, but because they lost Norman Powell. But to me, I think they're still a team that's going to lose in the first round of the playoffs.
Yeah, I'm there with you. This is just such an aging roster right now. Like, how many games on the floor are we going to see Kawhi and Bradley Beal together? Maybe what, 10? I like Chris Paul. Cool, he's going back to LA to kind of finish it up here, but how many games, I know Harden was pretty healthy last year. You can't really count on Beal or Leonard a lot. Brooke Lopez is coming in as like a backup big. John Collins, too solid. Like, they're just such an aging team that, they can stay on the floor. Yeah, this is, definitely a playoff team, but yeah, I don't think they can go much further than that. I think they're the oldest team in the Western Conference. They're like average age like 31. Like, I just don't. The NBA is more of a I know LeBron's so good and KD, but kind of want the young guys, youth guys, and they just don't have a ton of that right now. And I know they don't control any of the picks. I don't think till 2030.
Yeah. I just think to me, this is a team that's one and done. I mean, Kawhi played well at the end last year, but I still think his best days are behind him. Same with James Harden. It's just, to me, this is a team that's going to be one and done. I just see it. I don't think these moves make them much of a threat to the Thunder in the Western Conference. I just don't. I don't think they do. I don't think they do. And you could argue, they went to 7 games with the Nuggets. Well, the Nuggets had an interim head coach. You got a guy who coached like 3 NBA games. It was his first series. He was coaching, and so I just don't see the Clippers being that much of a threat to the Thunder. I don't. I mean, they made some moves to sign veterans, but again, this isn't 2015, it's 2025, and I think the Clippers are going to be one and done. Now, we'll wrap up talking Big Ten media days, and we start with the Big Ten. We got to start with the defending national champions and the Ohio State Buckeyes. And according to ESPN Bet, they are tied with Texas. They play in week 1, which is crazy, but they are tied with Texas to be the favorite to win the national title. Now, they lost 14 guys to the NFL, 14 to the NFL, but they returned 2 of the best players in college football with Jeremiah Smith and Caleb Downs. The question is should Ohio State be the favorite? Should Ohio State be the favorite to win the Big Ten? And I'm going to go first. And I know I'm being biased here, but I'm going to say no. I'm going to go with my Penn State Nittany Lions. I think with them returning Singleton and Katron Allen and Drew Aller, and then you got Dennis Sutton and Wheatley and Harris coming back on defense. I'm going to go with Penn State. I am going to say no. I don't think they should be the favorite to win the Big Ten. Now, I don't think the media polls came out yet. I think some of Cleveland.com came out with a poll that had Penn State number 1, but I don't think the whole media polls came out yet. But I'm going to say no. I am going to say that Ohio State is not the favorite to win the Big Ten this season.
So I do have Ohio State.
You do.
My problem is I just don't trust Shane Franklin. I just don't.
Yeah.
Because you got to go to Columbus this year, and Ohio State's got 2 of the best players, with Caleb Downs and Jeremiah Smith. I don't love the Matt Patricia hire. I don't love that, especially because you lose Jim Knowles, who goes to Penn State. But I think Ohio State probably goes 8-1 in conference. Probably, they'll probably lose to Michigan again because they just.
Oh yeah, they always do. Yeah,
they always do.
Yeah.
I think Penn State, maybe it sets up a rematch with Penn State in the Big Ten championship game. But I just don't trust Jane Franklin to beat Ohio State. I just don't. I think this is his best team, and if he can't go over the hump this year, I don't think he ever will. I'm sorry to you as a Penn State fan.
Yeah.
But I really love this Penn State team. I really do. Can Drew Aller take that next step too? That last throw last throw we've seen him in that Notre Dame game.
Yeah.
Was not great.
Yeah.
So up front, I think they're as good as anybody in the country on both sides of the ball. But until I see them beat Ohio State, I just can't. I can't trust James Franklin in a big game. I just can't.
Yeah, you got a good point with James Franklin, and we were going to talk about Penn State, but you pretty much answered the question: do we buy into the hype? You're not buying into the hype. I am buying in. I like the run. Now, I get why people aren't, because let's not forget they lost 2 great players, Abdul Carter and Tyler Warren were two of the best players in college football last year. And if you look at it, who's their leading receiver coming back? Penn State's. You can't even. I'm a Penn State fan. I don't even know who their leading receiver coming back is going into the season. So their run game is going to be absolutely phenomenal. And they got a quarterback. You got two running backs who are seniors, and you got a quarterback who's a senior. That's why I am buying into the hype. And I know people don't love they can't, and that's fair to say. You don't trust James Franklin, but I do think that this is the year where James Franklin's got to get it done this year. If he doesn't get it done this year, you're probably going to question, is he ever going to get it done? Because there's a good chance they could be preseason number one because they have the third best odds to win the national championship. So there is a chance they could be preseason number one. So you're not buying into the hype. I am, but I'll ask you this: where do you think Penn State gets to the? Does Penn State get back to where they were last year?
I think they do.
Oh,
I
really?
will say they go on a run. I do think they're good. I think they're good enough to go on a run this year. Is it 10 of 11 of their starters offensively are seniors, or it's 9 of 11?
It's something
but
like
it's
that,
like but like the two, if and the other guys who are starting are like a junior. So like the last two Big Ten champions were very veteran leader, very oriented kind of teams in Ohio State and Michigan. Penn State has that. Like even on the defense, I think 9 of them are seniors. So, and again, I think they have one underclassman that's projected to be a starter. So I think Penn State has the ability to do it. And I really like Tibor Pena, the Syracuse transfer, coming in. A wide receiver. He had like 84 catches last year, over 900 yards, 9 touchdowns. I don't know if he can be that difference maker you're looking for, but I think you finally have a wide receiver there that can make some big plays for, first time you haven't had that in a while, since like Allen Robinson, which was almost a decade ago. So I do think Penn State's going to be good. I do, helps you get Oregon at home. You got Indiana at home. Like your toughest road game is probably at Iowa, which I know they've had their problems with on the road, but like even when you get Oregon, they're playing their fifth straight game already, and you've got 3 cupcakes out of your way. So I think they go 8-1. I wouldn't. Maybe they beat Ohio State in the Big Ten championship game. Maybe they can get them there in the rematch. But maybe they get. I think they could really end up winning the national championship. I wouldn't be shocked. I just can't take it because I haven't seen James Franklin done it before, and I just seen enough evidence where I just don't. I don't trust them.
And you could argue the 2 playoff games he won last year were against teams that Penn State was clearly better than in SMU and in Boise State. So they had a pretty easy path to that semifinal game. And then when they played a team that was as good as them, they fell apart. They were up 7, and Aller threw the pick, so they fell apart at the end. So I could see you not trusting James Franklin in big games, and we'll see what happens there. But last question, and it's about Michigan. Michigan had a down year last year, but they got hot. But they got Bryce Underwood, the stud quarterback now. Can Michigan will Michigan get back to the college football playoff? Will they get back to the college football playoff this year?
I'm gonna say no. I don't love Sherrod Moore, and I think Underwood's gonna be the starter week 1 because the transfer from Fresno, Mikey Keene, he hasn't been healthy. I could very well see them going down to Oklahoma and losing that one.
Yeah, I can see that one. Yeah, I can see it.
I think Oklahoma's probably a 7. 7-ish win team, and and I might get, this one I might pay the price on this one. I really like USC this year too.
Oh, wow.
They got to go out there. I think Washington's going to be better too. So I think Michigan might have 3-4 losses this year. Bryce Underwood's going to help that offense. I don't know how many other difference makers they have to really help them offensively. But their offense is going to be better than it was. It just has to be. It can't be any worse. I think their defense will be solid. I just don't really trust Sherrod Moore. I don't think he's a great head coach, and it'll be interesting if they do go 8-4 or something like that, if they were to move on from him. So I'm going to say Michigan's like one of the first teams out. Like they finished like 17th or 18th. I think they'll have a couple more. I think they'll have a couple losses, and I don't, so I think, with Underwood there, future's good, but I don't think they get the playoffs this year.
Yeah, I can see them missing the playoffs again because I don't think their defense is as good. I know Will Johnson was out for the year, but Grant was a really good player. Mason Graham was a really good player. So they lost a couple pieces on defense. So I definitely, because I don't think their defense, even though they were terrible offensively last year. Their defense was really good. Don't forget, they held Ohio State to 10 points in that last game, in that game, and they beat Alabama in the bowl game. So their defense was actually really good last year, and they lost. Mason Graham was a top 5 pick. Grant was a top 15 pick. So yeah, I would not be surprised if Michigan misses the playoffs again because Sharif Moore is not Jim Harbaugh. It's just as simple as that. So I wouldn't be surprised if Michigan loses 3 or 4 games, and I think it'll be a little bit better because they'll be better offensively. But I would be surprised if they lose 3 or 4 games and they miss the playoffs. But that's going to wrap it up this week on Sports Talk with RMJ. For Justin D'Onofrio, I'm Steve Risser. We will be out next week. We'll be back in 2 weeks, probably recapping the baseball trade deadline. Talking. We'll definitely probably have NFL news to talk about. So we'll be gone next week, and we'll be back in 2 weeks. So we will talk to you then.
Hello, my name is Joe Aguirre. I'm the president of Clovercrest Media Group. And here at CMG, we have a wide variety of podcasts, including sports shows like Keys to the City, The Roll Call, Throwing Jabs, All Four Downs, and Jawing About the G-Men. And great true crime shows like Sticky Week, Crimes and Consequences, Ivy League Murders, and Bird, the Unsolved Murder of David Eichmann. You can find all these podcasts and so much more by visiting clovercrestmedia.com.